According to a new study, 3 different strains of the novel coronavirus have been discovered. Does this mean immunity is impossible? Would a vaccine even work? And what about the reports of people being reinfected with the virus? We're going to talk about all of that right now, but please first hit subscribe and hit the bell. The more subscribers this channel gets, the more the algorithm puts the content in front of more and more people. So please subscribe. The original version of this virus is thought to come from bats. We're going to call it type A. However, according to a very small study, so this means it could change. This was a small sample group of only a few hundred people. It appears the strain that most circulated through China was oddly type B. Type B is also what is being found in Europe. And although curiously, Italy, which was the first in Europe to get the virus, ended up getting type C, a strain that is a mutation from type B. The U.S. seems to have type A circulating around the West Coast, with type B in the East. Now, researchers are trying to figure out how any of this makes sense. They are at this point unclear as to how China had a mutated version of the original virus, with the U.S. having the original strain found on the West Coast. It's also curious how Italy, the first hit in Europe, ended up with the mutated and latest to emerge strain, type C. One theory is China had type A circulating unnoticed as far back as September. The virus then mutated to type B by December, which is when China finally noticed it. Type B appears to be more aggressive and deadly. Researchers think at this point, if you catch one version of the virus, you are not as susceptible to the other versions. This could explain some things. If type A of the virus was circulating through China, much of Asia, and even reaching the west coast of the U.S. before type B, the more aggressive, deadly version, started circulating around, this could explain why these regions seem to have easily gotten the virus under control. I know people here in California think they contracted the virus back in December or January, which is why we are not seeing the big spike of cases that was expected. This would make sense, given California has nearly 8,000 visitors from China per day. If the virus has been around since September, Californians may have already caught it and have some level of immunity to type B, which is now widely circulating around other parts of the U.S. This brings us to the question, can we have immunity if this virus is mutating? Not sure. This could end up like influenza, where scientists attempt to modify the vaccine to match the mutated strains each season, oftentimes unsuccessfully. This would be a disaster if true. It means we would have no choice but to learn to live with this virus and hope and pray each year that the new mutated versions aren't deadlier and deadlier. We need to keep our fingers crossed that these mutations remain minor as they are right now, so that we can have some immunity either through having the antibodies from recovering from it or through an eventual vaccine. We really need to hope this doesn't become a seasonal new virus we have to live with. It wouldn't be a new type of flu. It's a totally different type of virus. It's a coronavirus. It's respiratory. This would be a deadly common cold. Fingers crossed we can develop immunity and eradicate it instead. There are multiple reports coming out of South Korea and China that recovered patients are retesting positive for the new novel coronavirus. What is going on? Can we get this virus again after we've recovered? Not sure. Most of the scientists believe we cannot, and these cases are not reinfections, but what they call reactivations. Essentially, they think the patients didn't actually recover from the virus. It just seemed like they did. However, there have been multiple reports of the tests themselves being faulty to begin with, which opens up a whole other can of worms. The British government is seeking a refund for millions of coronavirus tests purchased from China, saying they are unreliable and result in false positives and false negatives. Spain and Turkey have reported the same issues and have backed out of their orders for the tests. There could be an innocent explanation as to why tests would be faulty at this stage. This virus hit the world so quickly that the push to make tests, treatments, and vaccines has been rushed. If this is the case and the tests are faulty, then we have to start questioning how well the testing and tracing strategy has actually worked throughout Asia. With faulty tests, how would they know who had the virus and who didn't? How would they know who to accurately quarantine? How would they know who to release back into the public? If these tests are as faulty as other nations are claiming, there is simply no way any nation in Asia was actually able to test and trace accurately. Meaning, the virus has not been as contained as anyone thought. Singapore recently found this out when they were touted as a testing and tracing success story, only to now be in a total lockdown after finding community spread that had gone undetected. So why aren't they seeing the vast number of deaths we are seeing in Europe and on the East Coast? Well, it goes back to that theory that the less deadly type A may have been circulating around throughout Asia and the West Coast, leaving these populations with immunities, thus largely unaffected. Obviously, the faulty tests pose a huge problem for us. Many in the U.S. and Europe are banking on the testing and tracing strategy for getting us back to our normal lives, which many of us are eager to do. But if the tests don't work and we end up with thousands of people cleared who are actually still infected, we just go right back to where we are right now, which is also where Singapore has ended up, sheltering in place indefinitely. This is all tough news, and it's unclear where this leaves us. Worst case scenario, there is no reliable test for testing and tracing, and the virus mutates too quickly for any of us to build up any immunity. Even waiting for a vaccine would be almost pointless, since whatever they create wouldn't work for the ever mutating virus. We just have to learn to live with the high risk of catching a deadly cold. Best case scenario, we can develop immunity after we catch it. Our antibodies help treat others who catch it. The test can be fixed, and we can attempt to test and trace the best we can until a vaccine is developed. Thank you so much for watching the show. Please share this. Please subscribe, hit the bell. Doing my best to get all the research and facts out to you when it comes to this very scary time about this virus that's circulating around. I know people are very frightened of this. I know there's a lot of seemingly conflicting information out there, and I am doing my absolute best to get you the facts. Thank you so much for watching.